What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into the Virginia Tech live reaction stream. Hopefully, get some people filing in here in a second, but I guess we can go ahead and jump into it. As always, I'm your host, Jordan Cruz, joined by my co host, Steven,
What's up, everybody?
and our other co host, Bradley.
What up, what up, what up?
Well, boys, little unexpected the performance, I think, for me. I think if you look at the preview show, you could see that. And, I picked us to get the win on the season prediction roundtable, but going in, the week leading up, I wasn't as confident. But it ended up being good for the Mountaineers. I mean, kind of a mixed bag. I think maybe a little bit of a bad taste left in the mouth due to the way it kind of ended and the way they came back. But all in all, it's still a W on the schedule. Highest ranked team Neil Brown's beaten. As we said, biggest game of the Neil Brown era, and they come out on top. So it's big and it's a win. But opening thoughts as far as that Virginia Tech win, Stephen.
I'll let you go ahead. Go ahead, Bradley.
If you want to go
Look
on
like
that.
he was excited.
We freaking won. Let's go. Screw Virginia
Right
Tech. Who are
on.
the freaking chokies? We came out, had an absolutely dominant first quarter especially. I mean, we had 3 and outs, and then they were going 3 and out, and we were just hammering the ball, freaking moving it. And then came out in the second half and showed that Neil Brown hasn't changed, that we're still afraid to put our foot on the gas pedal.
That was disappointing.
It's man, we got to change that. It's got to happen.
Steven, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I was excited to see it, man. I was a little nervous going into the game, but like I said, I felt really good a couple days before the game, and turns out I was right. I don't know, man. It was just a great feeling. The atmosphere was great in the stadium. It was just an all around good day. It was hot as hell, but it was worth it, man. Getting sunburned and everything. That first run by Letty was just electrifying.
Yeah, that 80-yard break was beautiful.
Absolutely. And the crazy thing was, I mean, they were off to the hot start either way because they had the touchdown the play before that. If that throws, it's just right there on target. Sam James burnt that guy on that first play. So,
yeah,
and then Letty. I know I was still getting it on my TV, hadn't turned it on yet, and I was listening to Tony call the first 2 plays, and then Letty scored, and I was like, man, we already scored. I haven't even got it on the TV yet. It was awesome. I was going crazy, but yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better start in that one. I don't think. As far as that goes, if we're going to talk about, the elephant in the room, off to a hot start, but we got to talk about the ending. I think, the defense played solid throughout. West Virginia had the ball, a couple chances to close it out, and they didn't. And then I think, the big mistake, of course, the interception on the horrendous pass by Daggy. But as Bradley said, let's talk a little bit about the second half struggles for West Virginia under the Neil Brown regime. They were averaging, I think, right at 9 points per game against Power 5 opponents. And, we've seen another scoreless quarters. We've seen only a field goal in the second half. What are your thoughts on the second half struggles, Steven, or are people making too much of it as long as you're winning the games?
No, I think it's warranted. I think, everybody being upset about it because up to this point, other than the LIU game, you haven't scored a second half touchdown against, a major opponent. So I think that was kind of a red flag, especially going into this weekend, going into Norman. But we did. That's the thing. I thought previously, I was under the impression that under Neil Brown, West Virginia was more of a second half football team. But
right.
I mean, it's been the opposite this season. So
I think
I really don't know what's going on.
But defensively, you see adjustments, but offensively, I don't know if it's just not adjusting or what it is. What do you think, Bradley?
Yeah, so I actually did. This is what I did some of the number crunching on earlier in my card ride back from Parkersburg. I was at a wedding. That's why I wasn't at the game. And so to kind of touch on this, I know we've been talking about right now we're averaging 9.7 points in the second half under Neil Brown throughout his tenure against Power 5. We're only averaging 11.8 points in the first half as well. So under Neil Brown, I mean, we're roughly averaging 21 points a game, which is 3 touchdowns, which honestly – I don't know what to make of that. I mean, I feel like that's not that many points, especially in the Big 12 where, I mean, it's just high-powered offenses. So, I mean, looking at it, we're not really scoring that much more in the first half either throughout the first 3 years of Neil Brown. But what I did think was crazy is on the other side of the ball with our defense, we're allowing 15 points in the first half throughout Neil Brown's career, but then we're turning around and only allowing 10.7 points in the second half throughout Neil Brown. So there's a huge discrepancy there between how much our defense allows in the first half and how much our defense allows in the second half. So I make of that as you will, but I was just curious because like we're talking about first and second halves, but you look at it, it's a 2-point difference, and 2 points is huge. But I feel like we're just really not scoring much on either side of the the halftime show.
Now you're right. The offense, it's in general, has had its struggles, but I think what you've seen a lot of too is just hot starts like that. But then it's like it goes away. And I think somebody pointed out, I've seen during the game on Twitter, where I do the live tweets, I see people talk and everything, and it's like they think our scripted series, like they script those first two offensive series, and those plays are usually awesome. But it's like after our scripted plays are done, the offense just looks completely different. It seems like. Steven, what are your thoughts there on the offense? How did you think it looked, and just overall during the Neil Brown era, really?
Well, I mean, on Saturday specifically, I thought they looked pretty well in the first half, and that was what I think we should build on. The thing to me is I don't understand why we can't get over 30 points. Since Neil Brown's taken the helm of WVU, we haven't been able to get over the 30 points in a single game, I don't believe. And that is absolutely wild to me. Because West Virginia prides itself on electrifying offenses, or has in the past, couple of decades at least. So, kind of we've lost a little bit of our identity as a football team, I think, a little bit. We've shifted over to the defensive side of the ball more so while Neil Brown is taking over, which I don't mind. I love being a defensive-minded football team, but we're fooling ourselves if we're going to compete, if we think we're going to compete in the Big 12 conference or even any other conference for that matter, if we can't move the ball on offense. But West Virginia's, really good at moving the ball on offense at times. And that's the thing for me is, you come out and, like you say, you have a really, really good opportunity to go off, or a really, who was it? I think on that side, Sam James that almost caught that pass on the first play.
Right.
Yeah.
Would have been a touchdown. The
Absolutely.
very play is, a run up the gut with Letty James. And I mean, you could have drove a truck through that hole.
Yeah, that was a great play design.
Our offensive line looks good for a change.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the better part of the day, I thought our defense looked amazing. I thought Alonzo Adda played great. Jared Bartlett came to play and played great. Dante played great. I think he had something to prove because his dad Gary played in the same game and had the same type of effect on the game. And I think he wanted to leave that same type of a legacy. There's a lot of positives, man. I think that all in all, the Mountaineer fan base is and always will be like you, Cruz, and be pessimistic about things because that's what we've been taught to do. I think West Virginia fans have been taught throughout everything we've been through, to be down about things because we know that at some point it's just going to fall apart.
Yeah.
But I however, think I don't know. With as many negatives that were in this football game, especially late in the football game, I think that there is a ton more positives because I think a lot of what happened late in that game was largely attributed to the heat in that game because it was hot. And I'm not trying to give them excuses or anything, but I mean the team came to play, man. They were exhausted. They gave it their all, and I don't understand why they can't get the ball going on offense in the second half. That's a little bit of a different story. I don't think that's heat related at all, but
yeah,
I do think that the offense doesn't give the defense time to rest, and that's why the defense,
And I think it's more of a testament to even more of a testament to how good of our defense has been, because like they've just been coming out and like absolutely saving us in these games. Since you brought it up, I just thought I'd look at it. We've crossed the 30-point mark 4 times under Neil Brown.
4 times heard.
Two times in his first season against Power 5 opponents. Obviously, we've broken it more against
right.
I mean, we obviously did it last week against LIU. That's
But yeah, we did it twice in his first year and twice last year. I say we didn't get much more than 30 points. I think we've only broke.
Yeah, that's still not getting it. I mean, that's 4 times getting over 30 points in what's been 25 games he's had now or something like that against Power 5. I mean,
Power 5s would be 22 games is what I
what's that? I mean, that's like 5% or something. That's not getting it done. It's not going to get it done. I mean, the defense is great, and I think that they're playing like like they know that they're relying on their defense, which I guess is good. But also, if you compare an offense with that type of defense, I think that's the missing piece for West Virginia. But I think Stephen, you touched on the offensive line. I wanted to touch on that for a second because I did think that they looked a lot better, pass protection and especially run blocking. I think we can give that. And I did notice Doug Nestor didn't have the club on. He had like a really thin cast, so maybe that helped on that right side. Of course, getting Mike O back, he played about 20 or so snaps.
Yeah, I think that
That
was the
was
biggest
big
thing on the
too.
right side. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mike O helped out a lot.
Absolutely. So I did want to shout out the offensive line there because we needed a big improvement, and it looks like they have. And who knows, maybe they just hadn't gelled yet. Plus the factors of Mike O'Laughlin and Doug Nestor's slight injury, and now if they start to gel, that could still be a good unit like we heard about all off season. So hopefully, that was just the tip of the iceberg there. But I think talking offense, the thing everybody wants to talk about is quarterback. So let's talk a little bit about the quarterback play. What did you think of Daggy? Because personally, I thought for most of the game, he wasn't too bad. Despite the numbers not really high. You'd like his completion percentage to be a little higher. You'd like him to hit a couple of those deep balls where he had guys open that he missed. But he was pretty much playing mistake free till you get to the fumble late in the third, and then of course the bad interception in the fourth. But I did love the packages with Garrett Green. What are your guys' thoughts on Dagy's performance? And did you see Green about as much as you expected, or would you have liked to see him more? What do you think, Stephen?
I absolutely love the packages that they ran with him. But the only thing that I would have changed about it, I would have liked to see them run a little bit more passing plays with Garrett Green, just because it would have just mixed it up a little bit better. You would have been able to throw a little bit more of a different style at Virginia Tech's defense that they hadn't seen. And every time Garrett Green came in the game, he just ran the ball. So I would have changed that a little bit. But however, I love what they're doing with it. And I love that Jared Deggy has bought into it. He's not, against the fact that they're going to let Garrett Green get his shine and get his time in there and do what he can to help the offense, because I think that both of them really just want the offense to succeed and the team to succeed, which I think is, all what it really boils down to. And so I think that's what really motivates me as a fan moving forward, all in all, honestly. I mean, I really thought Jared Deggy played really well at times. However, this is what my analysis is. I thought about this during the game. I think that Jared Deggy tries too much to throw the deep ball when he's really good at throwing the short routes and those medium routes. I think that those routes are more successful for him, especially with our receivers like Sam James and Sean Ryan. They have really came, into themselves this year, I feel like. And especially like yesterday, Sam James had a really good touchdown where he caught the ball over the middle and then got separation, runs it in for a touchdown. I thought that was a really, really well ran play by Sam James himself. But then you see Jared Dickey trying to make something out of nothing and throw a deep ball, and then it's always, if not always, an interception or just a crazy looking pass. So I think that what they should do is just stick to what they're good at. I remember back whenever Bob Huggins led WVU and the basketball team to the Final Four in 2010. He said all the time, just do what you're good at, and we'll be good. And I think that's what we should do as a football team right now. Just stick to what we're good at, and we'll be successful. And so that's what I think about the whole quarterback situation. I just think that as we start to see the offense do this a little bit more throughout the weeks, I think they're going to get a rhythm to them and start to learn how they're going to function as an offense that has two quarterbacks. And I think it's going to be really really nice for West Virginia moving forward.
Bradley, what about you?
Yeah, so I thought Diggy played really well up through the first half, and I think he was definitely correcting some of the things that the coaching staff said that they wanted him to correct, not making that bad play any worse, which he did not do until he threw that interception there in the last drive, which, I mean, a little bit of that is Neil Brown, a little bit of that is him. He was, running that screenplay. He's looking at it, and you had that defensive lineman peel off, and he was trying to get it over top of that defensive end. So he floats it a little bit more, and he floats it too much, and it gets picked off. And, Neil Brown said he'd rather do him just chuck it into the dirt than try to, get it over top and, get that interception. We lose some yards, but we punt it down the field, and they got to go, 60, 70 more yards. he did really well this game, but I also think he had some of the best protection that he's had so far. I think his pass protection was a lot better this game, and that allowed him to find those receivers a little bit more often. And then, to my knowledge, I think he only got sacked once, and that
Once or
was
twice,
on.
I think.
Yeah, I was definitely on that strip sack when he got blindsided from, I think it was a corner blitz, and they just did not even see it. Other than that, I thought Jarrett Doege played really well. I mean, could have completed some more of those long balls, but he kept it safe up until the very end, and he did what he had to do. And then Garrett Green, I thought Garrett Green did what he was put in there to do. I think that they said that they were trying to get him the one pass play when that was like a drop snap when it got back to him. That was supposed to be a design pass play for him, but it just went to hell. But other than that, I thought he went in there in his packages and he ran hard. And I think that, it gave us a spark that we needed when we needed it. We needed 5 yards. He was like, I'm going to put Garrett Green in there beside Letty Brown. They're not going to know who's going to touch that ball. And then whatever happens. And he could have broke that first run that he had, that quarterback draw. It was open. And, had he not ran into his block into the linebacker, he really could have broke that for a big, big gain. But yeah, I was happy with both of our quarterbacks play. I mean, they did try to almost throw it away. I mean, Jarrett Doege with that interception in the second half, like really almost screwed us.
Quite literally.
It did. So.
Yeah, I agree. But I think, like you said, to me, it wasn't more about Dage's decision. Yeah, he airmailed it. He should have threw it in the ground, threw it away, whatever. And that's bad. But I think the play call is the thing for me. Like Neil Brown even said in his post-game press conference that one was on him. And I think because even, they ran that play 3 times. I know they ran it at least a couple times against Maryland. And so, I mean, even as soon as I seen Letty going out in that motion, I knew it was like Esdale's coming on the screen. And then it was like, oh, man. When they intercepted it, I thought it was over for sure. So that was bad. That was. But, Doege, for the most part, he is who he is. And I think, Steve and I agree with you. They should do more short to intermediate stuff, but I think they have to try and factor in those deep balls. I think that's what they're trying to build the offense around, running the ball and the play action deep ball. And they're just trying to keep the defense honest with it, even though Dage's not hitting them consistently, if ever. And that's what you're really missing right there is that element of the offense, along with what you're putting Green in for with the read option part of that option. It's not just a straight handoff to Letty. And so you're having to use 2 quarterbacks for that. And maybe it gets to a point where Green, can take the shots if they want to take them. But I don't think that would be a bad idea because we know who Doege is. He doesn't hit those deep balls consistently. He's a good rhythm passer, or he's a good game manager for the most part. Being a little bit turnover prone this season, I think that's why you're hearing more about the talk of wanting more Garrett Green. So, I think he's got to cut down on the turnovers, eliminate those for sure. But the thing is, I think whether you are a Doege fan or not, that he's going to be the starter, for the foreseeable future. You might start seeing more and more Garrett Green, but I think unless, he keeps having 2-3 turnovers a game, Jarrett Doege will continue to be a starting quarterback. So it's just kind of where we are, what we got to go with. So that's just, my take on it, really.
Yeah, I think we've found, what we're going to be working on moving forward as an offense right now. I really do. I don't think we're going to see a change in the starter quarterback anytime soon, unless, God forbid, Jarrett Doege goes down with an injury. But I just don't understand why there's so much chatter about Garrett Green being the starter when Jarrett Doege's turning the ball over. Why is it? Garrett Green's an automatic fix. It's not like he's not going to turn the ball over. I promise you, if he runs the ball that much, he will turn the ball over that much and more.
Absolutely, and especially, not being able, just being young, that's you go through those, learning to read the defenses and read the coverages,
Right.
and yeah, it would be you would go through your lumps. You're going to go through your lumps regardless. I think after Doege, and people are going to realize, well, at least this guy could go through progressions and knew the plays to run.
While we're on the subject, I just want to throw in there, we're going to go what we go through this year. Next year, Nico, I don't know if y'all watched that guy on ESPN the other night that ESPN's been posting about every day since. Yeah, the kid's a dog. So much of a dog. He led his team back from 24-7 in the fourth quarter with less than a minute to go. And it was a little gross, but he threw up on – the kid was playing so hard he threw up on the ball on the game-winning touchdown when he threw it.
Yeah, then ran into the 2-point conversion even though he's injured.
Yeah, man, that's just like nerves. Just like, holy shit, I'm leading a hell of a comeback right now.
That's nerves, but that's exhaustion, man. Have you ever ran so much you throw up? That's what that was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They said he came off bleeding, limping, and throwing up. And it's just like, oh, my God, I've never heard of a more mountaineer player in my life.
No, I agree with you. I think that Nico is going to be like the first true freshman to start at West Virginia. I think since like the 70s. I think Dan Kendra was the last one. I believe I saw that stat. So, and I agree with you. I think that that's probably where it's headed. But even then, like you're going to have to take your lumps through there. He's going to have his struggles early being a true freshman and everything. Even though I think he's going to be great in the long run, but
Oh yeah,
when you're young, you're going to struggle a little bit, and that's what I think Neil Brown's trying to avoid with Garrett Green is get him in there struggling, kill his ego, or whatever. And I think he's trying to protect him a little bit. And then also, he knows he can trust Daggy to audible, go through his progressions, be able to read the coverages, get the team in the right play. Because, Daggy started 33 games now, of college football. So that's just kind of what you're going with is the experience. Not that Green isn't going to be the guy in the future. He very well could be. I think it's going to be a competition with him and Nico following this year. But I think putting a guy in before he's ready could really be detrimental to him. And I think Neil Brown knows that, and that's why he's kind of playing it with kid gloves. Catch up on some of these comments real quick. Chad Wyrick, love what you guys do. Your passion is unmatched. Keep it up, man. Thank you, Chad. We appreciate you. And
yeah, we
Justin
appreciate you,
Walker
Chad.
says, my first
Tuning
time
in.
watching, always try and support fellow Mountaineers. Absolutely. That's all we are. Mountaineer, we like to say by the fans, for the fans here at the Country Roads webcast. Just lifelong fans that love to talk Mountaineers. And then finally some guys that see the big picture and understand what's going on. Hallelujah. That's also from Justin Walker. You're right. Yep. Trust the climb. Neil Brown, this is the biggest test of his West Virginia career up to this point. And, even though they almost let it slip at the end, he passed the test, in my opinion, because he got the win,
Yeah.
Yeah,
In the end,
I mean
all
that's
that matters
that's
is
the
that
big
W.
thing. West Virginia really. Hey, speaking of which, West Virginia hadn't won that game in Morgantown or anywhere for that matter. They haven't won a game since 2003. So I went and I got me a shirt as soon as they put them up on the big board yesterday. Just because
Got to. Oh, and that's one thing I did. Neil
Jealous of that
Brown,
matchup.
if we're talking Neil Brown, he had the team ready and he had the team knowing the importance of this game. The crowd helped at the beginning there, but
I said in the pregame show that
Neil had them ready.
I didn't think that the players were going to be as bought into the rivalry part as much as the fans. Hey, it didn't feel like that. The players, it felt like they were in a rivalry with themselves as well because they were. I mean, it was a chippy back and forth game, to a point, especially in the second half. I know in the first half, West Virginia just came and punched them in the mouth on offense, but after every single play, it just felt like somebody was going after the whistle. I know at one point I looked up and, the play had been blown dead in the backfield and somebody like all the way back on the 40-yard line and all the way up here on the 5-yard line, a West Virginia player was hurt. I think it was Sean Mahone. And I'm like, how does that happen?
Right.
I don't know. It was super fun to be a part of that game yesterday. I mean, I'm so glad that rivalry itself is back. I miss playing Virginia Tech so much.
Yep, can't wait for the return game next year. But I think that's what Neil Brown did a great job of, getting the team ready. And like you heard in the post-game interview, several people saying, he came in Monday. He said, 6,191 days, 6,190 days they've had the Black Diamond Trophy. Then they said he came in on Tuesday, 6,191 days. And he said he kept telling them every day how many days it had been, just a countdown, sticking it in their heads. And I think that was awesome. That was big. And that just showed you he was trying to motivate these guys to get that trophy back home. And he did just that. And that's a testament to Neil Brown, I think. So despite, get on him for some of the offensive struggles if you want, I think that's warranted, and I think he would probably agree with that. But definitely he had the team prepared. You got to commend him for that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Justin Walker says, with Green, Crowder, and Marchiol, I think the future looks bright in the QB room. Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with that. 3 young guys, if they all stick around, that's the only thing you got to worry about now. Transfer portal with 3 that are close to the same class. He also says, do you guys think the play column was too conservative in the second half? I thought so. Oh, absolutely. And that's Neil Brown said in the game he thought he took the air out of it too early. He definitely did. I think our first 2 drives of the second half took like about 15 minutes, which is great if you're scoring on those, but we only managed a field goal. Should have had a touchdown. Some penalties really hurt us, and then I think play calling was an issue. But yeah, I think you got to continue to play with your foot on the gas, and that's the big harp right now, averaging only 9 points per game against Power 5 opponents in the second half of games since Neil Brown took over in 2019. And it's not like it's been all bad. Like, you get ahead in some of these games, and a lot of those games you've won. But I think when you get a big lead like that, you got to continue to keep your foot on the gas, even if you want to run some clock. Don't get too conservative. And I think definitely West Virginia got too conservative.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, you come down to like that, and I know people have talked about it. I still don't understand why we're trying to toss the ball when we're inside the 10-yard line. I
Just
mean,
hand it
granted,
to-
we were inside the 5.
That's
You got
what-
Letty freaking Brown back
The
there.
I'm
crowd
so
was
glad you
chanting
said
Letty,
that.
and he didn't
yeah,
get
I was
the
getting ready
ball.
to say that. The crowd was chanting, Letty, Letty,
You could hear
Letty.
the TV.
Yeah,
you hear
and I
the
mean, to a
TV,
point,
didn't
you're
touch
like,
it.
well, now the defense expects it. Well, they couldn't stop him
What are
anyway.
you going to do?
If
What
you
are you
Didn't
gonna
matter.
stop him? The
If-
dude's
if
guaranteed
they
4
knew,
yards.
if they told him, hey, Letty Brown is going to go through the a-hole right here, and you ain't going to do nothing about it, they would not done nothing. They would have literally let him go into the end zone because he was running them all over that defense
Absolutely.
yesterday.
And I
He was
mean,
making that
especially 'cause
defensive
we were at
front
a
look
point in
silly.
time where we're trying to run some clocks. I think this is when we had to have, that was in the second half when we kicked the field goal, correct?
Mhm.
You're already trying to run some clock anyway. You're ahead by a couple touchdowns. You're trying to run some clock anyway. Why just hand the ball off? Just let my dude. If you don't get it in on the first one, you run some clock. If you don't get it in on the second
in the
one, you run some
NFL,
clock.
whenever Russell Wilson be doing his
The
thing,
interception.
let Russ cook. Let
Yeah.
Letty cook, man.
Yeah.
Just
Absolutely.
let Letty eat.
Yeah, he needs more. He needs more touches, I think.
I don't know why it's so difficult.
All right, but that's the offense. Kind of is what it is. Had its struggles, looked better, specifically in the first half. I think the offensive line definitely looked improved. Run game definitely looked improved. Pass protection was good. So there were some positives with the offense, despite the second half leaving a bad taste in your mouth. And we definitely wanted to point that out. But let's talk about this defense for a second, because I think we all thought this defense could take a huge step back from last season. And obviously, I think at the end of the year, rankings wise, they're not going to be anywhere near where they were last season. But this is a tough, fast defense, and I think that they're going to be still causing a lot of trouble in conference play. What do you guys think about this defense?
I absolutely love this defense. I mean, my favorite player, I've told you guys a lot that my favorite player all the time of all time is Jamal Adai. And I swear Alonzo is very fast becoming a close second, man. That is a hard-nosed, fast football player. And there was a lot of guys that played great yesterday. Like I said, Jared Bartlett played great. Dante played great. Josh Chandler-Samito played really well. Daryl Porter Jr. did prove that he should be a defensive player and not a wide receiver at one point because he
had it in his hand.
Right. Yeah. Oh, man. Anyway, I'm just glad we won the game. Go ahead.
Man, no, the defense was causing havoc. What do you think, Bradley?
Yeah, it was
on
good.
the defensive
Good
side,
day
I
from
thought there
D.
were some unexpected heroes in that game. Taj Austin came out.
Great
He
game.
dominated that tackle. I mean, he straight up, if he wasn't making the play, he was forcing the quarterback. He was forcing Burmeister to get out there and try to do something. And I was so impressed by Taj Austin. I think he had to have had at least 2 or 3 sacks yesterday, or TFLs. I mean, he was living back there. And you brought up Jared Bartlett. I thought Jared Bartlett.
Oh, Jared Bartlett! Wow.
Oh my gosh, came out of nowhere and just put it on him, man. Just straight up playing aggressive, playing physical, and just earned himself a lot more playing time. And then Jackie Matthews came out there, and he was playing a wonderful job back there.
Jackie Matthews, big day.
Jackie Matthews played really well.
There's just so many names on the defensive side of the ball from yesterday that you can be like, this guy had a day. This guy had a day.
That's what I'm saying. In comparison to last year's defense, this defense may not end up with the same numbers as high as a ranking, but the depth on this defense, I think, last year you had starters playing a lot of the snaps, almost having to play entire games. And I think the depth on this defense is huge. The defensive line rotation is 8, 9 deep at least. And then got a few guys at linebacker rotating. And then, like you said, in the secondary, Jackie Matthews rotates in, Charles Woods, all those guys rotating in. I mean, there's some depth in this defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
you go back and look at it. Good.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I just think it's really positive, moving forward for West Virginia, because you look at the recruits that we have coming in, in the next 2 to 3 years.
Spells is going to be much needed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, yeah! You get all that on defense, and then you get the offensive line depth that you need on the other side of the ball. You get Nico coming in next year. Yeah,
the future's bright. Absolutely.
Yeah. You take off these blue and gold glasses real quick.
we saw those here. That's our favorite product.
So we've all had them on. I had them on all off season. Mine have been off lately, but yeah.
But I mean, you look at our defense this last game. I mean, first touchdown we gave them, we had three bad penalties, and that's how they got their first touchdown. I mean, it was just we kept their drive alive for them. And then you turn around and in the second half, they didn't really have their offense going until, we fumble the ball over. They try to make something of it. They're getting the ball on like our side of the field. It made it a lot more tough on our defense. And then they still held them down and like didn't let them come back, win that game, and like they had a chance to win it, even though we didn't think that they would. Like, I
When they
remember
had the defense on their heels on their goal line, I thought, ooh,
Oh, I think I
Heart
saw a
was
stat.
pounding.
West Virginia is ranked number 1 in the nation right now in red zone defense after that game, and I wanted to point out a stat. Keenan Cummings from Rivals tweeted out, said that by his count, Virginia Tech ran a total of 11 snaps from the West Virginia 10-yard line or in yesterday, yesterday during the game, and that resulted in 6 yards, 2 turnover on downs, a missed field goal, and also a false start. And so I think once they got, goal-to-go situations, like Steve said, they really dug their heels in. And I absolutely loved the fact, one of the first things I said as soon as we won was that they ended on a goal line stand, just like, Grant Wiley, Brian King in 2002. And I was like, that's just poetic that it ended that way on a goal line stand. And there's some parallels from that 2002 game to this game. I know I'd mentioned to you briefly off air, Stephen, before the game that, I think Rich Rod was 10-11 going into that 2002 game against Virginia Tech, who was top 15. West Virginia wins that game, and then that kind of kickstarts Rich Rod's era. And Neil Brown was 12-12 going into this game, top 15 Virginia Tech team gets the win on a goal line stand, mind you, if history doesn't repeat itself enough. And this could kickstart the fruits of the Neil Brown era. We've been preaching trust the climb with the recruiting classes coming up, and he really needed a signature win, and I think he got it. And the biggest game of his career up to this point, he gets the win, and that's big. I think that this looking back, I think we could maybe see this as a turning point for the program. What do you guys think?
I absolutely think so. And I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I'm going to. I think this is probably going to be the year that we get a win over Oklahoma, guys.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't jinx it.
Only Jordan's allowed to say shit like that because then it just doesn't.
Do you think I'm gonna?
Jordan can't say that. Jordan's
I picked us to lose. I was gonna say
Jordan's the one picks us to lose.
Sorry,
let me tell you. But listen, I picked us to lose. I picked us to win the season prediction roundtable. I picked us to lose on the preview show, and we won. If I predict us to lose on the preview show against Oklahoma and win again, I may not pick us to win ever again on the podcast.
Hey, that's what you got to do.
I'm superstitious like that. I'm superstitious like that,
Yeah,
I got a strong feeling, man. Because I look, don't get me wrong, hell of a play by the defensive back for OU on that last play, or in the last little bit of that game. But they struggled way too much in that game.
They struggled in every game they've played.
Okay, they struggled every game they've played. So to me, I feel like they more so than West Virginia should already know their identity of who they are, and they're struggling right now. They're not the same.
Struggling.
Yeah, they're not the same OU that everybody knows and expects to play like, and neither there's a lot of those big names right now, other than Bama. But anyway, I think that West Virginia.
Bama looked vulnerable this week.
Yeah, against us are ranked 11, Florida in the swamp.
Still,
I think West Virginia's got a really strong chance this year, guys. I think playing in a night game in Norman out there, I think that's going to get our guys pumped up, especially coming off of an atmosphere they just played in Morgantown. That was super loud. That really was one of the best atmospheres since 2011. But you got to flip that and go out and play in Norman with a really raucous crowd, probably. Which you never know. They might not even be that jacked up for West Virginia. It might not be that much.
Yeah, I thought that we had a chance to be ranked after this game because every week,
got votes.
Looking better and better. But
we got votes.
If you
win that one, you're in there though.
Because we've already lost to Maryland and we've only beat LIU, and then you have one win against Tech. So
yeah, I know. Then Virginia Tech did the same thing when they beat UNC. That was ranked number 10.
UNC came back to life, didn't they?
Yeah, they looked good.
They looked good.
I think that's a testament to what West Virginia's offensive plan was early. I think it's a hot start West Virginia got off to. That North Carolina offense, that's supposed to be a juggernaut. Virginia Tech held them to 10 points. So I think some of the plans and some of the stuff that was drawn up, especially in those scripted plays, like we talked about in those first 2 drives, was good by West Virginia. So, as bad as we've harped on the offense, I do think they deserve a little bit of credit for being able to do that because that's a good Virginia Tech defense. They were top 10 nation in sacks, top 5 in TFLs, and got great players in the secondary too.
Yeah, well, I think Bradley touched on it in the pregame show that we did. I think he said, we need to come out. He said literally need to do it, but we figuratively came out and punched Virginia Tech in the mouth and showed
That's
them
what
that
you
we were
did.
going to run the football on them,
Mhm.
and especially on their defensive line. First play of the game, Letty up the middle, or second play of the game, Letty up the middle, 60, however many
Untouched,
yard run,
perfectly blocked.
Yeah.
untouched.
And what
Offensive line set
what a
the
nice
tone
catch!
very
What a
early.
nice catch from Bryce Ford Wheaton on that second touchdown. That was a nice
Oh
play
yeah,
on that ball.
oh yeah. I was
That's-
glad to see him come down with one of those.
yeah.
They've been
That
trying to
is
hit that a
true,
few
but I
times
was
this
watching
season,
that
and now they
play.
finally
I'm
got it.
glad you said that. I was watching that play specifically, and that ball was a prayer. It's honestly
was
just
a gimme
lucky
play.
that
It was a
Bryce
free
Ford
play.
Wheaton was such a good receiver, because the ball could have been picked easily. I mean, it was just a floater, man.
Yeah,
And
but I mean, they jumped offside, so we were getting a free play anyway. So it's one of those. Hey,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
throw
take
it
a
up
shot
and
Oh,
at
take
yeah.
a
it.
chance. Yeah,
But I mean, he
yeah.
put the ball where it needed to be for his guy to catch it, though. Because I mean, both those defenders were like there, but they weren't where the ball was, And Bryce Ford Wheaton was able to, get his head back before they could, and he got rewarded for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
thinking about Oklahoma, I know we'll get into it more on the preview show. Which, if you're just joining us here on the live stream, we're going to do this. We do this usually every Sunday night following a game. We'll go live here on our Facebook and on our YouTube, and then we'll flip that, put it on the podcast as well. But you can catch our podcast every week, previewing every game. Find on any podcast platform you want. Just search Country Roads Webcast. We're on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, what have you. And then our live streams will be Sunday nights following the game, where we'll have our reactions like this one if you want to jump in on them live. But we're going to be previewing Oklahoma on that. But before we get into that, I think we touched on it a little bit, but I wanted to see, we'll get into players of the game before we close this out, of course. But just any thoughts on Oklahoma? I know, Stephen, you spoke about it briefly, and I just want to say that's my worry against Oklahoma, is our offense being able to produce against their defense, because I think this Oklahoma team looks like one where their defense may be what carries them more so than their offense, at least up to this point in the season, unless they get it clicking over there. But what are your guys, just kind of way too early Oklahoma thoughts looking down the pipe a week away against a top 5 team in Norman for a night game, Bradley?
This has definitely been a more beatable looking Oklahoma than what we've been going into the last 3 or 4 years, going into playing against Oklahoma at home or away. It definitely seems like the more beatable Oklahoma. But what's scary is it's Oklahoma, and I mean, I'm not going to sell them short. They still got all the components and the makings of being a playoff team, and maybe they just haven't put it together yet. And a 7:30 night game in Norman is a game where they could definitely start getting things rolling, and that's people can get. I'm afraid that Mountaineer fans might get a little excited. Everybody might be looking forward to head to it, and might give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, and then start be real mad when we lose. But like I said, Oklahoma is a top 5 team. I mean, they're a damn good team. They haven't put it together yet, and if they put it together, we could still be in for a hurting if we don't have our if we don't on our top game and absolutely crossing our T's and dotting our I's, then it doesn't take much for a team like that to find their sink and get rolling. So I think we got a better chance, but like I said, don't. It's still Oklahoma, people.
Yeah, I know it's still Oklahoma, but in my mindset, I think that it's positive for West Virginia that we play them early on in the season, as opposed to playing them later on in the season, because normally when we play them later on, it gives them time to readjust themselves, because I swear it seems like Oklahoma always has one game, at least in the earlier part of the season, that they drop that they shouldn't drop. And I don't want to say that that West Virginia shouldn't beat them, but I really don't think that West Virginia is, more talented of a football team than Oklahoma. But I really do think that right now West Virginia is playing at a point to where they're, gaining momentum in their season, especially coming off of such a high emotion game. And Oklahoma has just been squeaking by, in their games against some lower level of competition. I think West Virginia might have the opportunity to go in there and surprise them and throw them off guard. I don't know.
Yeah, Justin Walker in the comments. Go ahead, Steven.
I was just going to say, Justin Walker said this is the most winnable Oklahoma game in the Neil Brown era, and I absolutely agree.
Yep.
I couldn't agree more. I think this is the most winnable Oklahoma game, and I think out of the Dana Holgorsen or Neil Brown era myself, I think it dates all the way back to when we had Tavon and all those guys, because those were some really talented Oklahoma teams, and this is a talented Oklahoma team. Don't get me wrong about that, but they're not the same as they usually are. I really don't think that they have enough firepower to compete with them. Like if they had to line up against Kyler Murray and those guys, they would get absolutely throttled.
Yeah.
Agreed. But I'm going to try and keep it positive here at the end, so I'm not going to talk too much about Oklahoma here on the instant reaction. Y'all can hear my thoughts on Wednesday when we release the podcast, and have the video on YouTube and on
then
Facebook
don't be positive
well,
after we win that game either, Cruz.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just warning you ahead
I don't
of time.
want to see you happy.
You know me this season. You know me this season.
We're gonna like at the end of the season, we're gonna like be undefeated other than Maryland, and that's gonna be our only loss. And Cruz is gonna be like, I just don't see it. I don't think we got the talent.
Yeah, we just can't win.
No, I see what makes you pessimistic. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't hate on you because of your present.
It's like usually I'm looking at the good things, like, oh yeah, this, and then I'm really hopeful. But this year, it's like I'm seeing like, oh, but I see this is still like this, and every game, and that's what's sticking out to me. I don't know. It's just different.
Because you want to see that firepower, and you want to see that dominant play that that West Virginia can get back at.
I think it's just like you see the tip of the iceberg right now. Yeah.
We grew up watching Rasheed and Pat and Quincy and all those guys, man. Like
we got high standards.
Yeah, very, very high standards.
All right, so we'll hand out players of the game here in a second. Any final thoughts on Virginia Tech, though, before we hand out these players of the game and get out here for this week's reaction show? Bradley?
Fuck Virginia Tech. That's all I got to say.
Right on.
Black Diamonds of Morgantown. Maybe there to stay. Yeah, we get one because we picked us to win. Jordan doesn't get one because he's a negative Nancy.
Okay, I see how it is here. That's fine.
Hey, I got plenty, man. I got plenty of these things.
Oh, my man's got the stash.
I brought them.
Have to get at least one of these from
fans. Sign them, give them to our fans.
I'm gonna have to get at least one of them.
I took them because I needed something to shield me from the sun.
Put our social media links on there.
Mm-hmm. On it, some stickers.
Any final thoughts on your end for Virginia Tech, Steven?
Super proud of the guys, man. I just really want to make that. I want to put that up on a pedestal. How proud I am of these guys coming into a very emotional game,
a must-win game. Like
I said, as close to a must-win game as you can get to, and they got the job done. And it was just nice for me as a fan to be able to finally be able to appreciate a win over Virginia Tech, because I've had to deal with all of my friends talking crap to me pretty much for all my life at this point. In 2003, I was only getting into football, I think, at that point. So, by 2004, 2005, we lost both those years. It was pretty sad. So it's nice to enjoy one for once.
Yep, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I'm right there with you on that one, and I think I just felt really proud. Yeah, really proud at the end when we got that stop, because I'm not going to lie, after that interception, I got super pessimistic then, and I was already in my feels. My girlfriend said I was tearing up because we just blew it and lost, but I will neither agree or disagree. I will not confirm or deny. But, I was upset. So then it was pure elation after the 4th and goal stop.
I forgot about this because there's something I wanted to talk about. I started getting that Mountaineer feeling in me, like that. I'm gonna call it the Mountaineer dread from now on. That's just gonna be my term for it. When things are going looking
Virginia,
good, and then
it's going too good. Yeah,
that one thing happens, and you just feel it set in. And for me, it was that 3rd down and 24.
Oh yeah,
Meister took it for 25, and I just felt it hit me. I'm like, that's not good.
Let me tell you something. I was so mad at Raheem Blackshear for a long time yesterday because he did really well against us, but I was mad at him because there was a good portion of yesterday's game he was limping around acting like he was hurt. I'm like, oh yeah, he's not going to be effective anymore. We got him beat. All of a sudden he just starts taking off down the sideline, and I'm like, well, where'd that come from?
Broke that late touchdown run. I was like, oh, okay, I guess he's back.
Okay, well,
a lot of standouts in this game for sure for West Virginia. We talked about a lot of the names on defense. Mentioned a few of the guys on offense, but what are you guys thinking? Player of the game for the big win against 15th ranked Virginia Tech to bring the Black Diamond Trophy back to Morgantown. Who's your player of the game, Steven?
For rivalry's sake purposes, I'm going Doug Nestor.
Oh yeah, Doug transferring from VT, getting the offensive line look good with him at the helm of it. there at that right guard position, holding down that right side, which had been struggling. So that's a great pick for the Virginia Tech transfer to get the Black Diamond Trophy back home in West Virginia, in his home state as well. Bradley, what about you? Who's your player of the game?
Hey, I'm also going to go off the wall a little bit here because I think that, we won by 6 points. And you know who got us those big 6 points? The leg, man. The LEGG.
Oh, yeah, he
Going
looked
out there
good.
going 2 for
Hey.
2.
And he drilled him
Boot.
right down the pipe.
Oh, yeah.
His name's Leg, but he got a boot.
So he got
boot. Yeah, his name's
hitting that
Leg, but he got a
44
boot.
yarder. That extra G gave him. That extra G gives him the power.
That's it. Yeah, and he looks much improved and looks like he's maybe consistent this season.
Maybe I'll just say special teams because that Tyler Sumter punt saved us.
Yeah,
Wasn't
special
that a
teams. I feel
beautiful
like we won.
punt?
Wow, it was
Yeah.
great.
Big sail.
It was great. It was great. I think I'll go with the obvious one. Got to be this man right here, Letty Brown.
151 yards, I think.
Yeah, 151, 161,
Almost
something like
200
that.
yards.
Hey,
19 carries
All
and
purpose.
then
2,000
30
yards.
some receiving. Yeah, 2,000 yards for his career.
Told y'all.
Only the 20th Mountaineer to do it, so shout out for him to that. And I think honorable mention, we can all say Jared Bartlett. I mean, he's definitely a
Oh,
guy
yeah.
that changed the game. 3 sacks. Would have been 4. Got held on that last one, so he didn't get that last sack, but he bumped the quarterback and then got the quarterback sacked. But it would have been 4 sacks, so heck of a performance all in the second half. I think 2 on one drive, 1 being a strip sack. So shout out to that guy as well. Definitely a player of the game.
Yep.
That being said, this has been the Country Roads webcast, Virginia Tech Instant Reaction. Next week, if you want to hop in for the live version, if you're listening to this on the podcast, then you can do that. It's on our Facebook and on our YouTube Sunday nights, usually the day after the West Virginia game. And then our podcast for the Oklahoma preview will be releasing this week. We usually try and release those on Wednesday. And you can also find the video of that on our YouTube and our Facebook if you prefer the video. But you can always find the podcast on any platform. Just search Country Roads webcast and find us there. And we'll have the Oklahoma preview out later this week. As always, I'm your host, Jordan Cruz, for Bradley and Steven. Until next time, let's go Mountaineers.
Mountaineers.
Black Diamond Trophy is home.